Okay, so welcome to Andreas Speaker's Corner. We'll do it in English today because we have an English speaking guest, Chelo Garza, or is it Consuelo Werner? It says there on the text.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's because I didn't change. That's my formal um married name. That's how I usually used my name before. So Werner is my children's last name. It's not my maiden name. And so my real name is Consuelo. Werner was, the name of the family when I was married. And I kept it. But now that I'm doing more things, I guess I went back to my maiden name, which is Consuelo Garza,
Mm.
but everybody knows me as Cello. So
Oh, okay.
it's the short for Consuelo.
Oh, okay. So Chelo is a short for Consuelo. Okay. What
Yep,
is it? Is it Spanish, Consuelo?
it is. It's a very old Spanish name. And, everybody tells me that it's so beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that because my father was like the only person that will call me Consuelo if he was mad at me. I'd be like, Consuelo, get over here. And I'll be like,
It sounds
so
like it sounds like, when you say that, it feels like it's I get the feeling that in your family it's normal to be mad at each other. It's like, yeah, it's like we are, it's passion. We are like Hispanics, it's like, we are a bit mad at each other. It's passionate and in the conversations. Is that correct or
you know, not necessarily in my family. I grew up in a very pretty happy family. But also very obnoxious and very loud and very extroverted and very big family. And so it was very lousy all the time. And there was always dancing and there were always, we always had people like I had people around me all the time, like all my aunts and my uncles and my cousins, and everybody loved cooking and we got all together during the summer and, swimming and just having a loud ass time, just like a typical, well, I wouldn't say my family was typical, but I'd say just like my family would have done. And so my dad was a pretty happy guy and my mom as well. So I actually grew up pretty happy. Like my household was like my dad was not an angry person at all. And so yeah, I would describe to have lived a pretty happy childhood. Let me just put it like that.
yeah.
But we are very expressive, as we have a passion and we love describing things. And so like when I was living in other countries, it was almost like, wow, where is the fire, in the conversation because the Spanish is so descriptive. And so, yeah.
Is
um
it is it just the Spanish though? Because when you and I spoke at first, I was I like felt I felt a connection to you because and I think you said something about yeah, kind souls recognize each other. You said to me, and I was like, yeah, it feels like we have this kind soul connection, and but I was also so very interested about your background because your ethnic background is very how do you say it goes in many directions. Like you have Arabic and you have like Native American and you have like Spanish and French. It's really a cool mix.
yes, I so I know the history of my family because my dad was always so curious about where we came from, and his family, migrated to Mexico. And so they originally migrated from New Orleans, and before that, it was a mixed family. So my great grandpa was French and my great grandma was English. And so I'm sure that that combination back in the day wasn't like loved. And I don't know the full like story, but I just know that later on in my life, I wanted to take a DNA test. So I did because I wanted to find out like, why I was so culturally rich in my looks and just the way my family behaves. And so that's where I discovered that 50% of my DNA is Moorish. So it's mostly Middle Eastern. And then the other 50%, it's like you said, Native American, Spanish, French, Portuguese. There's some Scottish, there's some um Ashkenazi Jewish, there's some Eastern European, so and there's African as well. And so it was like, whoa, okay,
Whoa, hold on, hold on.
hold on. I was like, wait a second. I was born and raised in Mexico, right? And so when I was like 27 years old when I did this test, and I was like, whoa, all right, like this explains so much. Like this explains why throughout my life I was connected to languages and why it was so easy for me to learn other languages and so on, right? It's like there's always this feeling that you have lived past lives and that you can connect with so many people. And when I was young and I was traveling and living in other countries, it was a no-brainer. It was like, wow, like I can talk to everybody and I can relate to everybody. It was so easy for me. And it was like, well, it makes sense because I have a lot of cultures in my blood. And in the US, we call them mutts. It's like it's kind of like a dog that has different kinds, right? It's like you're a mix of, I don't know, and this is probably not the best example to give, but just to give a reference, right? It's like, oh, you're a mix with something, right? And it's like, oh, I'm like a mix of like 15 different nationalities. So, um, anyways, yeah, it's I'm kind of curious like that in a way.
Yeah, yeah, it's very cool. I would love to do a DNA test as well. What do you do? It's like you first register and your address, and then they send you like an envelope, and then you put your hair in it, or how does it work?
Actually, it's through saliva.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, there are like kits out there that you can buy online, and then they send you over the mail like a little container where you spit,
Yeah.
and then you send it back, and they sort of read through, right, your DNA in your spit. I'm sure there are other ways that are more accurate, right?
Mm.
That don't necessarily need like for you to spit on a coat. But I didn't go that far. I was just curious about like, okay, what is the connection between me like feeling like I'm connected to everything and it's so easy for me to just get around, right? And yeah, doing that DNA test was fun because then I got to share that with my children and then my children were like, whoa, because I also have mixed children. And so, yeah, genetics it's a conversation for another day because it's just fascinating. But yes, going back to what you said earlier, you and I connected through pretty much, the same thing that I connect over people with similar ideas and similar interests and um just our souls, like the purpose that we're connected to. And so, you know, I, I I find it a little rare these days to come across people that are authentic. And so it fascinates me every time, even, living in the other side of the world, to find people that are still true and authentic to themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like I just wanna comment on what you said earlier with just to finish that conversation. It was interesting. It was really mixed. Like you said, African. You said Ashkenazi, Jewish. You said like, but you didn't say Arabic. You said Moorish. It was more like uh, they're a bit. They are not as dark as Arabs, right? They're a bit lighter. I think Moorish. But I mean, Berbers as well in Morocco and Algeria. They're a bit. They can be like brown haired so. But it's not Arabic. It's Moorish. I'm
Yeah,
really interested in this, so it's okay if you don't want to talk about it because I'm really, but it felt like you were like, yeah, it's genetics, It's so just let me know if you don't if you want to move
you
on.
know, no, I think we should talk about it because you're right. I do have some Arabic, but most of it is Moorish, right?
Hmm.
It's the I mean, Moorish is basically the art, the culture associated with the Muslim civilization, right? In
Yeah,
North Africa
yeah,
and
right,
in
right,
Spain. And
right.
so I think that was like during the 8th century through like the 15th century. So
Yeah, when they conquered the Iberian Peninsula with
yeah.
Portugal and Spain, and then the Christians took it back like 1492, I think it was.
Yeah. And so I mean, it didn't really give me much more than that. It showed me the region. It was like all of Spain was like red, like, oh, you're from here. Like
Yeah.
56% of your genes come from here, but it doesn't like really say, like it highlighted a little bit North Africa too, right? Like Morocco and stuff.
Mhm.
And so that makes sense, to me, especially because like I come across a lot of African people and they look at my body or they look at my face structure or they look at me and they're like, "Are you African?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Yeah, maybe you
um
told me because it's interesting because you told me where you live in the west of the US right now. People are like, What are you? Are you Mexican? Are you like white? Are you black? Or what are you?" Like people are they don't really know.
yeah, I'm too tall to be a Mexican because I'm like a meter and 72. And so, like, that's pretty tall for a girl, especially like from Mexico. Like, women in like native women are so much shorter. Um, I also like don't have much of a Mexican profile and I have big eyes and like everything screams Arab in a way,
Yeah,
right?
in a way, yeah, I would say Arab mostly because your black hair and your like big eyes. If I would say one ethnic group, I would say Arab if I saw you at first.
Yeah, every once in a while I get mistaken by like an Indian. Are you Indian? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, Indian as well. I can kind of because you have a bit more like from what I've seen on your pictures, you have a bit more like brownish uh because Native Americans can have that as well. They can have a bit more brown, like a bit darker like skin as well. So because Arabs can be
Yes.
pretty light actually, but it depends which kind. But
Yeah, it just depends. And so yeah, I mean, even when I lived like in Germany or in France, it was very common for people to ask me like, "Oh, are you Italian or are you Spanish or mostly Spanish?" It was like, "Oh, eres española." And I'm like, "Kind of. I I'm Mexican. I was born in Mexico. I'm proud to be Mexican." Um, I love where I was born. I love the culture. I love everything about Mexico. Like I never not or I don't forget where I come from. You know what I mean? It's
mm.
like I have this remembrance and I haven't lived in Mexico since I was 20. And so it's been a long time. It's been a long time. Um But yes, yes, it's oh man, genetics. So I get that a lot. Where are you from? And then my accent, like if I'm speaking in German or if I'm speaking in French or if I'm speaking in Spanish, like it all sounds different and they all have an accent. So when I lived in France or in Belgium, they were like, "Oh, you're Southern, you must be from Italy." Or if I was in Germany, they're like, "Oh, you must be Turkish," because there were just a lot of Turkish people, and they have darker hair, and they kind of, we kind of look similar. So I don't really feel like I belong anywhere. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
um, yeah.
But it's cool though that you've been you know a lot of languages as well. So you speak English, Spanish, French, German. Do you speak any other language?
Not fluently, I'd say, but I can have a good conversation or understand people that speak Portuguese or Italian.
Oh, right.
I can get by, well, one is a Roman language, and so the more you learn languages, the more that you can like put pieces together, right? And
Yeah.
so your brain just sort of starts picking up things, and you're like, okay, yeah, I have an understanding. And I can get by, like if I'm in Italy, I can get by just fine.
Yeah.
Um, if I'm in Brazil, I can get by just fine. And
Yeah.
so,
You just in Brazil, you're just, muito patão, 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 aião, patão. They're just doing this this Portuguese even more than the Portuguese themselves. They're just it's like Spanish with the rounding of the vowel, rounding of the vowel. They're down, patão,
yeah,
patão, down with the you know what the no
it,
the
it's
I
very
don't know
much
how it
like
sounds really.
eu falo português and obrigado. It's just
Yeah.
very like you kind of just kind of open the vowels, right? Where in Spanish it's like, oh, yo hablo español, right?
Yeah, it's more
And
direct.
there's
Spanish is more like squared and Portuguese is more round.
yes,
Portuguese is like the
you
feminine
can say
version of
that.
Spanish, I would say.
You can say that. You can say that.
Yeah.
But Latin-based languages are going to be easy if, your mother tongue is a Latin-based language, right? Like Spanish. And
Yeah.
so French was easier to learn, I'd say, than German. Like
Yeah, yeah.
for yeah, German was a hard language. It's still a hard language.
I would have loved to learn more languages actually, but I'm just I can only say I'm fluent in Swedish, of course, my native language, and also English. But I tried French a bit, but I haven't really broken through, I think, to where I can just have a simple, easy going conversation. It's always like I have to think. I know some phrases, but to have that fluent, socially flowing conversation with many people, I haven't come there yet. But it would so I'm really inspired by people who can who know a lot of languages and really know how to get by in many places in the native tongue.
Yeah, it's neat to be somewhere and be like, "Oh, I understand that and I understand that." And you can change and help people. Um and you also have different personalities when you are speaking in another language. Your brain adapts and you become a different person.
Yeah,
And you have a different set of thoughts and you process information differently. um it's a different world,
yeah,
and neuroplasticity is so fascinating to me because it's just the adaptation. You adapt and you become a new you. It's a new identity, I say. And so people that have the ability to speak multiple languages, their brains are um very fast, very adaptable. You adapt a lot faster to your environment. You
mm,
learn a lot faster than most people. um you pick up on reasoning much fast. The advantages of speaking several languages are massive,
yeah,
and I was very fortunate to have that ability, and to very blessed to be able to have learned multiple languages early in my life,
yeah.
because then I became a mom, and then I kind of put everything on pause. Um, So yeah, languages are cool. I love languages.
Yeah.
That was um that was my very first career, I'm gonna say. Um yeah, I'm gonna say I learned how to translate. I self-taught myself how to translate from one language to another and how to interpret from one language to another. I didn't go to college for it. Oh, I took a class and then I was like, no, this is not for me. I can teach this to myself, And so that was sort of like the beginning stages of my career. Let me just put it like that.
Mm.
It all started with languages.
Yeah, okay. What have you been doing up till now? Like I'm sure you've done a lot of things, but just briefly, like what are your like major fields where you've been in, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, like I said, I started as a former translator. And so at the time, I only had one kid. And I decided that I wanted to just translate for people. And so I started asking around, and an opportunity came in. And they're like, oh, we have this book whose the book is about neuroscience and human evolution and diet and lifestyle. And so the author was like, I need someone to copy edit to Spanish because we want to launch it in Spanish. And so that was my very first job. I had a baby and I was pregnant with my second daughter, and that's what I started doing. After that, I sort of like did something else. Like my youngest daughter, or I'm sorry, my oldest daughter had a lot of issues, like eating issues, and so I actually started teaching myself ancestral eating. Honestly, I went to my grandma and I was like, "Hey, grandma, how did you guys used to eat?" And so I um I consulted people, especially women, on nutrition. And so I did that for a couple of years. So I went from a translator to a nutrition consultant. And then from there, I left for administrative work. And so I was a virtual assistant for another 5 years. And then from there, I sort of scaled in multiple areas and multiple companies where I was just supporting like the managers or the CEO or the owners of the company. And I eventually rose all the way up to being the director of a creative agency. And
Mm.
so, yeah, I've done a lot of things. I've also have taught English. I've been a medical interpreter. I did that for a full year. I've also done a lot of home care and worked with people with disabilities. Um, let's see what else. I have worked in retail. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've done a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, here. That's good. I think it's your multi-passionate creativity. You need a lot of variation. You can't stay at the same place for too long because then it gets boring, right?
It does. It does. I would say that I'm a terrible employee in a way because after a little while, people start questioning if I really should be working there because I start either like trying to change things or implement new things or come out with new ideas. And I experienced a lot of people looked at me and just sort of go like we're either going to silence her and not allow her to do so, we're going to tell her to basically shut up and like don't worry about it. Like, and so yes, as a multi-passionate.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to ask you what goes through a mind of a creative person when you're met with that kind of attitude, you know? Because I recognize myself a bit in what you're saying. I know that as well when I because I I al- I always want to, you know, improve things, make things better, and but it's you know, workplaces of today, or at least as it has been, you know, they're often they often say that yeah, we are so passionate about change, and we you know, they have all these good words, but then when you really get there, it's really like squared, and they are in this mentality of we want things to be as it has always been, you know, and they don't really like change. They say that they do, but they actually don't. What do you have to say about that?
Wow, you're putting like the hard questions over here on the
Yeah.
table. Um, yeah, that's a really fascinating question because so think about someone who has always felt different, right? I've always been different. I've always gone against the grain. I've always sort of put like my mouth is too big. Let me just put it like that, right? It's like I'm always coming with new ideas, and it's hard to live in a society where you are being everybody wants to put you in a box, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
I know what you
this
mean.
is what you should do. This is what you're good at. This is the roadmap of your life, right? And so I was very fortunate to have gone to private school my whole life. And then when I got out of school, it was like once I started traveling and everything, I was able to experience other schools. And that's kind of what it opened my mind. I was like, wow, there's not just a one way to do things, right? And so as I got older, as I became an adult, as I became a mother, I started understanding more and more and more about the nature of the true nature of a creator, of a human, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I came to find out that we're multi-dimensional people, and the people that can be in a specialty, right? People that can just stick to one thing are usually the people that are the change makers, the visionaries, right? And so it's hard to live in a society where, like you said, they talk about change, but things don't change. Why? Because there's not enough passion behind the things that we're doing. There is not, there's, okay, we don't feel seen or understood because they're telling us to do the things that don't incite our passion, right? There's no spark in wanting to go work a 9 to 5 job every single day for pay so that you can barely pay your bills, right?
Mm,
It doesn't spark passion in anyone.
mm,
And as sad as it is, it's the world that we live in, right? We're always worried about how we're going to pay our rent, how are we going to feed ourselves, right? It's like the basic rights of a human, we're the only species on Earth that have to work towards basic human rights. And
yeah.
so it's really hard for change makers, and it's really hard for disruptors or multi-passionate creators like myself to say, listen, I don't want to do the traditional job. I don't want to follow the traditional rules because it just doesn't spark any creativity in me. And I always say that when people don't feel like there's purpose behind something that they're doing, then it doesn't create any change. And so that's what we're living, right? We live in a society where we want to change, but everything that we're doing is pointless in a way. It doesn't feed our creative side, right? It's not a sparking the desire to do something that we want to do. And so a lot of people get lost in thinking, oh, I consume too much instead of creating, and that's why we see a lot of depression and a lot of anxiety, right? It's because we're constantly consuming. And so to be a multi-passionate creator like myself, it's always been hard. And it will never be easy because people see you as different. People see you as a weirdo, and people see you as like, who does she think she is? Right? Coming up with this big, bold idea, or, going to school and flipping people off because you don't want to follow the rules, or, literally going against everything the society tells you, and just take a moment and say, listen, everything that we're doing today has no passion. Like it doesn't spark any like me wanting to do things, right? Like we're losing ourselves in consumerism, and we're losing ourselves in hedonistic activities more, right? Than focusing on discipline with the purpose behind, because nothing that we do, like everything that we do without purpose has no action, so it carries no change.
Yeah.
So if you always just do something without purpose, without intention, I would say without intention, right? If your actions don't have an intention behind them, they're kind of worthless. It's like you're not doing anything, it's you're just living, right? It's like you're
Isn't
just
that
sort of
why?
existing.
Isn't that why? Like they say that to have a meaningful life, you need to have purpose and you need to have some kind of thing that makes it worthwhile. And I think for myself, that's one thing that is very hard today because there's so many choices out there. You know, there are so many identities and ways of doing things, so that it's not easy to find my way through life and really to find the meaning and to find the core. Who am I, or who am I in relation to these other people at my workplace or my family or my girlfriend or my friends, there is I mean the individualism has kind of taken over, yeah. And in one way, as you say, it's very like strict of what you can do, but in another way they tell us to like go find yourself, find your true purpose, and there are loads of books and courses in personal development, and these different teachings of healthy ways of living and healthy foods, and different meditation practices, and yoga and tantric things, and therapies, and everything. There are so many things that you can delve into about, like, which is about finding yourself and being more like healing, because I spend a lot of time in with these kinds of people, and there's always like something more that needs to be done to heal, or something more that needs to be done to be full or complete as a human being, but we still live in this like structure, this society. And I think I've been thinking about that. I think that we gotta go back to something which is more reminiscent of a tribe than, because for many years now we've been civilized. We have had been agricultural societies for like 10,000 years, and it like it made it important to defend, those big, resources that we gathered, during the seasons where, we gathered the food and stuff like that. So I think the hunter and gatherer society was much more like in the moment. It was like, okay, now we need food. Okay, the men go out and they hunt a deer, and then we have food for a while, well, they had some things, and they had some kind of like structure as well, but it was more like malleable and like flexible with the surroundings, and maybe today like we are um, we are creating something that is in between, because we have all this technology, of course, and we have the ability to talk to almost anyone on the earth, and I mean, I think it's hard for people to be feel like I belong to a tribe of 8 billion people, you know. So we got to find out like 1,000, 2,000 people, which is like, okay, these are my people, but still we live in countries, nations with governments, and we vote and we take part in this democracy system, which is it's not that democratic actually.
Yeah,
If you ask me, it's like so it's a lot of like a lot of different levels to human life, I think today. And no one really knows, I think, what's gonna happen and where we will end up, you know, with the COVID pandemic, as
the
you call it,
pandemic, yeah.
because I don't really believe it. I don't know, maybe you believe it and you take your shots. I don't know, maybe. No,
Yeah, yeah.
I guess you're on the same side as me. I guess I would be. I don't know. Or are you?
Listen, I think we're gonna go back to the point of being a human, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
understanding that we all humans want connection. We all want connection. And I know this because I raised 4 children, and my children are now, grown. And I often look back at the things that we did together, right? It's like mom has the role of looking after her cubs, right? Looking after the little humans, and through your intuition and through your teachings and through the things that were passed on to you, you teach these little humans how to, eat and behave and interact. And so there's a deep connection with creative people when it comes down to connecting to mother nature, to mother source, to what nourishes us. And so in modern society, I feel like we are so disconnected from that because the roles have changed so much, right? It's like now we have the ability to go make money as women if we want to, where that wasn't the case before, right? It was like our purpose was more geared towards raising children, having children, nurturing a community, taking care of a tribe. And not only that, as we aged and got older, we became the guidance for many people. Kings had really powerful women behind them. We served, I feel, a much bigger purpose. And that's not to say that because we live in the 21st century, you're not allowed to do things. Like, of course, like I feel blessed that we have options, right? That we're free to do more things that maybe weren't quite fitting, before. Because the reality is that yes, women throughout history haven't had a lot of fortune in the sense of, owning their liberty or their voice or, their power. And so it's really hard now to find that identity in a way because not even men have a role anymore, right? It's like men feel frustrated that they it's a typical, oh, I want a manly man, but I don't want him to, react. And it's like, well, he's a man. Like that's his nature, right? It's to react to maybe to, I don't know, you're getting robbed or, somebody's about to hurt you or whatever. Like the natural reaction of a male will be to just react, right? Males are a lot stronger, and women and men have different capabilities, right? Women are better at something, but men are better at something. And so we've, I feel like we've created an inequality where now we see each other as like, well, I can be better than you, or it's a competition now. And so because there's no defined roles anymore, we are struggling. We're struggling to connect. We're struggling to relate in a way, right? Because there's so many hurt men that are like, well, we can't put up with women, they're too hard. And then there's women with a lot of pain that say like, oh, there's not enough good men in the world anymore, blah, 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 blah. And so, I mean, we can go on and on and on about why, as humans, when we're not connected, when we don't live in the present, when we're not connected to the source, right, to Mother Nature, when we don't follow nature as is, we nourish ourselves, we sleep, we follow our circadian rhythm, etc., then there's an imbalance. And that plays so much more in who we are as a society today than anything else, right? Because yes, we can have technology. And yes, it's wonderful to be able to have a podcast, from one side of the like you're in a different country. That's amazing that we have that opportunity. But behind the machine, behind our creative intent, behind who we are as humans, we are we inherently are creators. That is our nature. And we're so far removed from it because everything gets done for us now. Like, think about it. Oh, we need food, you can just go to the store and get food. Oh, I'm bored, I can just eat this and and eat my feelings. You have a problem with something, I can just go get someone to fix it for me. Oh, you have a question, I just go to Google and find it out. Oh, you gotta write a book, I'm gonna use AI, and then yeah, I can just do it for me. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it takes away our humanness in a way. It takes away our what it means to be a human and develop through life and going through some difficulties and going through some like yeah, that I mean, to in order to earn something, in order to get something and to feel this purpose, I mean, you have to go through some challenges and the challenge when things are get easier and easier, I think the challenge becomes more on a soul level. It becomes more spiritual in a way that people feel like there is something lacking because it's so everything is so artificial, and as you said, the connection with nature has been lost, and then we kind of just go around this place where we have what we need, but we are more poor than ever, maybe spiritually and connection wise, as you say, between people. That there is I mean, just a simple thing like sitting around a campfire and singing a song together, for example.
Exactly.
Like that kind of thing. I mean, it doesn't it doesn't have a like purpose of earning money or purpose of that we're gonna expand our company or enterprise or do something big or but it's about that basic raw wild nature of what it means to be a human being and connect with other people and really sharing. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Sharing. It's that we share something which is not which doesn't have to get anywhere. It's more we sit in the circle and we share and we look each other in the eyes and we feel the connection, we feel the love for each other, not because the other person has performed in any particular way, but more so that they have been allowed to just sit there and be themselves. Like, yeah, like authentic, the word you used before. They've been authentic and vulnerable around something they feel or something they have some troubles with in life or whatever. I really so what yeah, when you say connection, I really feel um that connects with me with what I think what I feel or what I lack as well. What I think I feel as like that people are so close, and there's it's hard to really get to know. It's not necessarily get to know people, but like it's hard to just initiate a conversation and just be two human beings because everything needs to have like a thought behind it or like you always got to get somewhere. And
Mm-hmm.
I think speaking of masculine and feminine and Mother Earth and those things in nature, I think the feminine, many people say that the feminine is coming back right now when the Earth is kind of raising its vibration, and it will be a lot of dark things coming up, before it gets better. And I think that's kind of the feminine, the healing, the balance, just having the love in the tribe, and having the center that everybody can kind of like gather around something which is sacred to them, and without it having to be purposeful, more masculine, like, yeah, we want to go from here and there, and we want to earn this kind of money, and we want to do this and that, but it's more like being, instead of the masculine doing, as opposed to the feminine being. More like we are together as a tribe, and we feel like we are something together, and we have this shared identity and these shared values or whatever, but it's not based upon the fact that we have to actually do that many things.
Yeah, you talked about some really good points. I think because humans have the capacity to create, right? Because we can problem solve and we can innovate and we can shape the world through different, in different ways, in different forms of expression. I think the problem is that we're performing too much instead of expressing ourselves, because anytime we try to be, like you said, vulnerable or authentic, we get criticized, we get judged. Like, why are you acting like that? Or why did you say that so loud? Or, you know, why would you say something like that? And I think a lot has to do again with the fact that we don't create anymore. Everything is done for us, right? And so, one, we don't get downtime to just be bored and come up with new ideas. We don't have enough outlets to express through the things that we want, like art and music and writing. Those have become almost pointless for some people. We don't get the ability to think for ourselves because everything is just right there for you. Like, you immediately have a device in front of you, right? That can tell you the weather and can tell you all these things. We are in, I feel like we're putting everything in our, like, we try to intellectualize everything, and we can't do that as humans. We've forgotten that we feel, and that we need to be more present in our bodies, and that the only way that we can become fully content with ourselves and connected to ourselves so that we can connect with others, it's coming back to how do you feel instead of what it is that you want, or how many things do you want to have, right? And so with the masculine and feminine, I think there's a lot of bullshit out there online, like, honestly. Like, you'll see a lot of washed spirituality, fake spirituality, that, they're always telling you, like, oh, you gotta go do this ayahuasca ceremony and it'll clean all your demons out. Or, you know, you gotta go dance, until you shake and, like, get the demons out. And I think, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and, like, do this tantric. It's so much more than that. It's like you have to go inwards and really look at, why do I feel like this? Right? And really think about, in the sense of, like, I have to allow myself to fully express who I am. But in order to do that, I kind of have to disconnect with all the distractions that I have around me, right? Because there's a million distractions, right? It's your phone, it's the phone calls, it's the social media, and if you don't get it right away, there's we also have a problem with creating hormones like naturally, right? Like we don't seek making up happy hormones through making love or through, doing something that excites us or, art or whatever the case may be. We don't do those things as often anymore. And so we're getting dopamine rush and all of these happy hormones in short term, right? Exposures to things that feel good, things that just last for a little bit, right? And so we've interchanged human interaction, you know, by because they tell us, oh, you can't go out there because you're gonna get the, like we said, the
Virus.
yeah, the virus. I don't want to say the name of it, but
Yeah.
oh, you're gonna get the virus and then die. And it's like you understand that there are so many other things out there, right? Like it's how it's like saying, oh, the sun is bad for you. And it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Like that's what gives life to,
Yeah.
everybody. Like that's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
But that's where we live. We live in a society where everything is fear and you should be aware of this and that. And if you eat this, you're gonna die. And it's just like, how about we just are? Like, how about we just learn to experience life without having to like when I tell this to my children, right, as they were getting older and stuff, it's like, one, I don't own my kids. They were given to me, gifted to me, and I've had the responsibility to raise them, right, to make them better humans. But then when they become adults, they'll be their own thing, right? Like I'm not trying to like be like, oh, you're mine forever. Like, no, like they'll walk their own path. So as adults, we haven't a lot of people haven't understood this, right? It's like every single time they go into a relationship or, what like you go into a relationship or like I own you, like you're all mine. And it's like one, nobody owns anybody,
Mm.
right? I don't own you, you don't own me. We're all free people, free individuals, free souls, right? And as long as we're not hurting each other, then there shouldn't be any right or wrong, right? Because we're all different and we all have different perspectives and we all see life differently. And instead of fighting each other or fight against each other, like, oh, well, you're better than me or I'm better than you, why can't we just understand, right? Where you're coming from, why you feel that way, why do you feel the need to do something like this or that, and ultimately have the capacity to have that deep understanding that we're diverse and that again, as long as we're not killing each other or hurting each other, then why don't you just allow yourself to live life? So is it possible for, like you said, like the rising of the feminine, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. But isn't that about birthing something and dying, right? When something dies, a flower comes out of it, right? Like there's gotta be some sort of transformation. And so I don't, it's not that the feminine are getting, it's not that yes, the feminine women are waking up, but they're waking up in a way because now we can own our voice and our power, right? We no longer are going to get executed. I mean, I'm sure out there's still places in the world where they do horrible things to women, but generally in the Western world, right? I don't have to be afraid of saying something and be decapitated or shot at or think of the worst case scenario. And so we're we're raising our consciousness because we just want the world to be fair. And I know that life doesn't care about being fair, but what a better way to just come together as women and say, listen, we can be understanding and we can help men too, the masculine heal. And we can also help the masculine like come back to their original roles, whether that is procreation, whether that is, hunting or taking care of the tribe. Like it's a different way, right? Males are different. Males are here in the physical world to take care of the women, and women are the soul providers. We have ways that we connect at a soul level that men don't. So we're very different beings. And
Jill, I want to ask you a straight question um, about that. What is it that you look for in a man as a woman? What is your what do you think in relation to what men has been and what we are and what we are like? What is biological? What is cultural? What is inherited from biology and what is just inherited from culture? That this is how a woman should look at a man and this is how a man should look at a woman. What are the traits like in relation to societal like constructs of today and how it used to be?
well, um, I think what I look for in a man is security, is safety. It's someone that can hold space for my emotions, someone
Oh,
that,
sorry to interrupt, but so what does that mean practically? Because some like we men often look at each other and we are like we immediately like feel the physical competition there. Like, yeah, if we were in a fight, would I kill him or would he kill me? Like that goes on when men are together. I mean, that kind of comparing and contrasting our strengths. Like how much is it for women like the pure physical like I know he can actually defend me like because some men are actually quite small and quite like they are not very like strong physically but they still have this kind of masculine presence to them that is still attractive to women. Do you know what I'm trying to get at? So
yeah,
can
no,
you
I
explain
understand
like
what you're trying to say. I think it really depends on the context and the environment and also the timeline, right? Like if I were to go back to prehistoric time, like to back to the time when we were nomads, right? Like obviously you need man that can fight and hunt and get food for me, right? Like I wouldn't want to have a man that doesn't have those qualities because like what's the point, right? If my role is to take care of the tribe, right? And protect the tribe, who's gonna go hunt for my food?
yeah
Like I need a man that's capable of doing that, right?
yeah
I think in agricultural times it's a little bit different because when we enter the age of agriculture and industrial, the industrial revolution, all that, it was more about possession, right? It's like this is mine, and so I think, um, especially with paternity and all and ensuring that the women had a safe place, right? We put this law of like you had to be able to like say this is the father of my children, right? Because it was the only way for women to feel to be safe. Like so it really comes down to one, what timeline are we talking about? Like what point in history is this taking place? And also in modern times, right? Thinking that we don't have to hunt anymore and we don't have to like fight for our lives. And so, yes, if we talk about being in the middle of the jungle, of course I'm gonna want a bigger man that can fight, a lion if possible, or that is gonna protect me against a bunch of, I don't know, tribal men that are coming in to, slaughter everybody or, do this big rapture. Like, And I'm not to say that there were probably men who didn't, like you said, they probably didn't look as scary, but they were good at other things like trades or, building things. Like there's always going to be a place for men, or even the man who was the father of all the children because he was able to spread his seed, and
Yeah.
it was, it also has to do a lot with genetics, right? There's a lot of things that behind people don't think about. It's
Yeah.
like, everybody's thinking about, the modern way, but it's like before it was different, right? It was like all about survival and passing on the strong genetics. And that's how genetics work, right? The
Yeah.
strongest keep going. And
But,
so, yeah, there in modern times, I would say that I will still want a man that's safe, right? I don't I don't pay attention so much about the looks. I mean, obviously, don't be, in a way non-attractive. Like, I have to have a little bit of physical attraction, right, to the man. But in modern times, it's much easier to be at a conscious level, like to have a level of consciousness where I wouldn't want to be with a man that can't control his emotions, right? I wouldn't be want to be with a man that gaslights me or manipulates me or tries to control everything that I do, because then what's the point, right? It's like I wouldn't feel safe. I wouldn't be able to be myself, right? I wouldn't be able to express myself. And so in modern times, that's how I would view a man. As long as a man is responsible, is a leader, right, likes to initiate things, likes to challenge me mentally. That's another thing, it's like I can't be with someone that is not constantly challenging me mentally. I need that mental stimulation, right? Um, because otherwise I just get bored. It's like, you can have so much sex, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, what else?
yeah.
There's so many other things. And so an intellectual man, for sure, right? I connect a lot through the mind. And so if there's nothing in the mind, it doesn't matter if you're a model or Miss Universe, like that to me is not a strong quality, right? Just because you have a six pack or, you're beautiful, that's not going to transfer to, I want to be with this man. It,
Yeah.
to me, is much more about your abilities as a man, your troubleshooting abilities, your problem solving abilities.
Mm.
So that kind of stuff.
I was thinking about one thing when you refer to the like different periods of human history with the agriculture and before that with when we were hunters and gatherers that time. I mean, what one thing that I think about is that uh, the time we live in today still after like the aftermath of the agricultural period is like we have one man and we have one woman and we have like children. It's like one family. Before it was like men were cooperating, and these were our women, like not like we own them in the sense that you're talking, but more like this is our women and we are your men. I mean, it's like we cooperate and we really feel like it's not just I as a man have my woman and my brother has his woman. It's more like we share because I was listening to an anthropologist who were studying tribes in Africa who are still living this way, and they were like he said that before there used to be like for example for procreation like used to be sexual like ritual where the woman were basically like letting herself be impregnated by many men. So it was like she wanted the seed from the strong guy, from the funny guy, from the smart guy, and we know today, of course, that only one sperm, or I don't know if it's two, if it's, but anyway, it's one man who is the father of her children. But so the thinking around sexuality and mating was a lot different, where men could kind of feel like it didn't really matter which who was the father, because no one knew, because she had had sex with multiple partners, and it was like, yeah, who cares? We still take care of each other, you know. And
Yes.
whoever had the most fast or enduring sperm would be the one who were like impregnating the woman and getting the children. But it wasn't something that we were consciously aware of, that there was something big. Like, whereas today it's like, okay, I marry a woman, and I want her to be I want to know that it's my child that she has. So after agriculture came in, there came this kind of patriarchal control of, but also in a way that every like to level out the playing field so that every man could have one woman. So I also see the point where it created this structure long term, where this wildness was, we got away from nature and the wilds and became more civilized in a way to like create these long empires. And so, I mean, it has its pros and cons, everything, I think. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
you had a really good point about a tribal setting, right? Because think about it. Let's put in perspective when the Spanish came to America,
mm,
right? It's like they came to the natives, and the natives, I'm sure, were they weren't prescribed a certain way of living, right? Like it's like I'm sure they didn't have a concept of like, oh, I'm gonna be in a monogamous relationship or in a polyamorous relationship, or like I don't feel and really believe that there was that concept. I think those concepts came with colonization. Like once colonization has started happening, then like you said, everything became a possession, right? It's like I have to have this, it's mine. And so I think this is something that I don't often talk about in public, but I think it's really important to understand and learn more about the decolonization of love, because it's not about prescribing one right way to do relationships. It's more about reclaiming our power to define love on our own terms. And so it's more about liberation, because we see love now like, oh, it has to belong to me, right? But love should be a space of healing. It should be a space of a natural way for you to just be yourself. It shouldn't be a confinement. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't have a label. And with colonization, I think we get a lot of that. We get a lot of like, oh, you have to be with a person your whole life, right? But what if that's not really what you want? Or what if your intentionality is different? What if your consent is different? What if it looks different for you, right? It doesn't have to look, because then I feel like we come to like terms, right? And then I don't know, it becomes oppressive. Like it becomes something that it's already an agenda, like an agenda, right? It's like, oh, I have to have a partner, or I have to marry, or I have to do all these things that society is telling me to do. But decolonization is really the process of undoing the legacy of colonization. Like it literally involves dismantling that colonial power structure, because it's a power structure, right? Like dissolve all those identities and all those institutions, right? Because in the context of love and relationships, decolonization really involves challenging the dominant narratives that we've been taught and the power dynamics that have been shaped by colonialism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that impact in native societies has had a really profound, I feel like has had a really profound cultural um impact against love, because it has resulted in like the erase like the total deletion of cultural expression of love, right? So for example, when the Europeans came to America, again another example, right, where they romanticize these love ideas, right, and then everybody started suppressing the non-monogamous people, like, oh, you can't go and love more people. Like now you get to just love one person, right? Um, yeah, I mean I can go on and on and on it, but I guess the importance of why I feel like society now is so constricted in that way is that we have forgotten to embrace diverse cultural expressions, right? And so cultures are different, you know, and Africans, I'm sure, express their love through ceremonies and dancing and storytelling. And the Latin America, did public displays of affection and love, and there's and so colonialism,
Dancing salsa. Yeah.
yeah, salsa. and so and so I think I'm not saying that I'm not telling people to go and like be with three different people at the same time, right? Like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about more about just the liberation of of just being yourself.
Yeah.
Like because we change, because we're changing beings, like we're constantly redefining ourselves, and as you know, people connect through energetic imprint, right, through your energy, and so sometimes you move out of that frequency, and so imagine being with someone who has changed so much, and then all of a sudden now you're stuck with them, right?
Mm.
It's like you have no choice, right? It's like, oh, if you do, you're a heretic or whatever. And it's like colonization, it's a system of domination and very rigid structures. And so the colonizing love, it's very important in the sense of we can love ourselves for who we are. And by loving ourselves for who we are, we get to love others better.
Yeah. I think one important point as well is that um I mean if you have two people and you want to solve things in society, we want to get to a better society, right? Everyone wants to have like more liberty for everyone, but the problem is that it always my liberty is always someone else's responsibility, right? Or my responsibility. I mean, because we speak about liberty, like yeah, liberty is important, like we want more freedom and stuff like that. Yeah, but it also involves responsibility, and I think that's the point many are missing. That's why it's that, for example, being an employee could be much more liberating for me because I've been realizing that being an employee is for me is might be the best option right now because I cannot stand the responsibility it takes. I don't have the self-discipline to endure being totally free because I have no one to relate to, no one that tells me what to do. So I mean, it's important just it's interesting just our definition of the word liberty and freedom, like what does it mean actually, and what it's different for different people, and I also wanna there was one another thing I wanted to say there, but I forgot. But actually, I want to say as well that is it okay if we take a little break? I need to go to the bathroom, so I just
Yes,
so
I
I
think you
just
should. You
yeah.
should go take a break.
Yeah, so like 5 minutes and then we'll be back. I put the recording on hold on pause, and then we'll continue after. Okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
All
So,
right.
so, so we're talking about um, this monogamous, polyamorous thing, and what's right and what's wrong, and colonization and all that, and isn't it like about understanding what other people come from? Because I think all people of today have this idea that we're gonna solve things out. We're gonna discuss things, different topics around how we should like relate to each other, how men and women should get along, and how we should do around things around society and all that. But isn't it all about just understanding that we come from different angles, different perspectives, and respecting my sister and my brother's way of expressing themselves and their truth, that there are no really clear answers to anything, but it's more about listening and understanding another person's perspective, why they're doing things, because we're judging each other so much about around how we express ourselves and what we're saying and not
Mhm.
saying and how we choose to live. It doesn't mean that we have to like everything that other people are doing, but more that we are have an openness to understanding that they come from their perspective. They have their biology, they have their culture, they have their upbringing, they have their um like sovereign, free liberty to stand up for what they think is right and what's important to them. And I think that is important.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's important too. I agree with you. And I also think that there's a lot of, okay, so because again, let's go back to connection, right? Because humans have a really hard time connecting. It's more so that they're so afraid to be vulnerable, right? And so that may stem from childhood. It might stem from living in a household where you never felt safe, right? Where it translated to, if I say my feelings, then I'm going to be judged, or something is going to happen, right? My mom or my dad are going to react, and this is dangerous for me. And so I think a lot when it comes down to love and when we become adults, right? It's more, to me, it's more about caring for the person that you love, or caring one another with a lot of compassion, seeing each other for who we are, accepting who we are, and honoring who we are through all of our faults and all the glory that we are as individuals. It's cultivating reciprocity and mutual care. It's letting go of the beliefs that there are structures around love. It's expressing our full range of emotions and experiences. It's realizing that this is the most important part. It's realizing that we are already worthy just as we are, that we don't need to prove anything, right? And be super courageous about witnessing other people's truth, like you said, right? Because not everyone's truth sounds and looks the same. And so I think if we practice more tuning in with ourselves, like pause for a second, and whenever you feel unworthy, ask yourself, where did I learn that from? When did I need to be better? Like, when was a time in my life where I had to go through that challenge, right? Like, learn to speak to yourself in a caring tone, right? Let yourself grieve and rage and enjoy, and let the confusion exist in your mind, because we are constantly trying to fix ourselves instead of just like listening to what other people have to say, and not be like immediately like, oh no, that's wrong, and you shouldn't do it like this, and you shouldn't do, you shouldn't practice, everything that you do. And because really real love chooses acceptance over control, right? Imperfections sometimes become the reason for embracing someone else's human being, right? We don't, so a lot of people, I feel like now, because there's this structures, right? It's like, oh, if you're not part of this structure, then you're a bad person, right? It's like, oh, if you don't follow Jesus Christ, you are, gonna go to hell, or whatever the case may be. Like, there's so many, I believe that religion was also formed in a way to control us, right? To sort of like disconnect us from what the true purpose is, which is just being here present as a soul and searching for our purpose. But I won't,
Having a human experience, it's just
yeah,
it's an
exactly.
experience, and it is whatever we do make out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine a world where more and more people start to love one another despite all of the systems that have been designed to like literally divide us. Like, think about it. Like, religion was built to divide us, right? The resources that we have are not equal, and the positions of power divide us. And, even as races, right? We have this segregation. And so when we decolonize love, that immediately means that we are being anti-oppressive, that we're not relying on systems, right? Systems that disconnect us from being human. And so I think that the more we choose to come back and actually like understand each other as a human without a system, the more we can recognize human, right? And recognize that to love fully is to reclaim our power in our human experience. That we don't need to be perfect to, want to be part of other people's life. But every time we choose to be present, choose to stay soft, choose to see each other as full humans, right, that make mistakes, then we become witnesses to another person's truth and humanity. And in doing so, that's where the sacred word comes in. That's something deeply sacred that it's going to help us as humanity. And so getting rid of all of these structures and getting rid of all of these institutions, right? And then just love from a place of wholeness. Like, welcome people for their full humanity, for who they are, right? And then we just reclaim back what it was taken from us,
Yeah.
right? Because I think that's always been it. It was like that before. It was always like that. And the example that you give of the African tribe, right? I'm pretty sure that no women are fighting with each other because there's no reason to, right? There is no reason to see another woman as a threat, right? Because there's not a structure that says otherwise. It's not like, oh, well, a woman has to have only one partner or five partners. Like, it's either we create a tribe that supports each other and we see each other for who we are, rather than, oh no, I'm going to take this away from you, and you can, you can have sex with, the other woman that I had sex because now she belongs to me, stuff like that.
Mm,
And we fall so much into that. Like, oh, once is mine, it's mine forever.
mm.
And that's just that, to me, that's not real love.
No, 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 me neither. I agree with you actually. I also think that it's important to have this freedom. But I know many people still are in that, possessive way that I have a partner and it's mine and you shouldn't be with anyone else. And I so it's a compromise, that, you know, like relationship, aren't relationships always a kind of compromise because you can come from different angles and so one person might be like, yeah, I want to be exclusive, but the other one might be like, yeah, I wanna have multiple partners, and then you have to have some kind of compromise, as always in life, and that's I think the challenge when it comes is the challenge when it comes to building relationships and being together with people, that there are those different ways of seeing things, that I want it this way and I want it this way. Because I can also see that it's really beautiful in a way, even though I feel like somehow I want to be able to have multiple partners, but on the other hand, the exclusivity is also makes it also more sacred in a way. So I can really see both perspectives, that it's um yeah, it has its upsides and downsides, all the
Yeah, it's like you said, with every single relationship that we have in our lives, there's got to be a commitment, right?
yeah,
Because you are literally like having an experience with this other human, right? And if you are on the day to day, there's got to be a compromise. There's got to be a way to solidify whatever it is that is happening. And so I do agree that a lot of like it's nice to have that unity, right? It's nice to have that bond with someone because you can rely on that person, right? And you can form deeper connections to that person. Um and so yeah, there's a lot of people that want to build that and grow into that, and that's awesome. Like I don't think that's wrong at all. And because we've forgotten that our sexual energy is literally the life force of creation, we tend to mistake that for, well, I just want to go have fun with, without responsibility, right? Like there's got to be some level of responsibility behind the things that you're doing, especially when, if you're talking about sexual liberation, right? It's like everything has to have a level of commitment,
yeah,
right? Because even the guys that are, like you said, impregnating all these women
yeah,
have a level of commitment.
yeah, yeah,
They have to look after the children and the women. Like
yeah,
it's not like they just go and have a bunch of kids with a bunch of different women and they're like, okay, bye, and I see you later.
yeah,
Like there's always a level of commitment, and so everything comes with responsibility, commitment, and if you want to grow into that, I think that's awesome, right? Like there's nothing wrong with wanting something longer, more profound, more connected, right? I mean, at a basic level, we all want that, right? That's why children have their moms, and that's why, you have a partner, and some people find that, you know, many people find that they just want to be with one partner and grow with that partner, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's also, I don't think anything wrong with someone who has a partner and they just live their life more openly, right? Where they are allowed to have other human experiences as long as you are openly communicating that with the person that you see the most or that you're living with, right? Because you can't just ignore the other person's emotions or, just pretend that they're just there for your satisfaction, right? It's like there's levels of commitment. And
yeah,
so it's going to be different if you live with this person and or if you don't live with this person, right? You see the difference there? Just
yeah,
like at a tribal level, the guy that is, I'm sure, procreating more children is going to be the guy that is just going to do that. And then, he's gonna go off to do other things.
Mm.
Like he's not involved in other processes because that's what he's there for. There's a purpose for him. And inherently that's not wrong,
Mm.
right? That's his purpose.
Mm.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just knowing that about yourself naturally and just saying, I feel like this is my purpose, there's also nothing wrong with that
Yeah.
because you're not hurt. I mean, if you are hurting the person, then why are you with that person?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah.
Right? If that person says, you know what, this is not going to work for me, I want something different, then you want something different. There's a million people out there in the world, that you can connect with, right? But I don't want it to get confused with like, oh yeah, just go out there and do whatever you want, right?
No.
Like
No.
it doesn't work like that. And
No.
so
It's easy when we talk about these things that it gets like two sides, like either you're on this side or either you're on this side. There is no like in between or different dimensions to it. It's just not just one line. It's one line which makes a like feel, and then you have the three-dimensional. I mean, there are many dimensions to everything. There's always a deeper way of seeing things, I think. Um,
yes. Yeah, I mean, some of us are deeper than others, and I will include myself in that, right? Like, again, I need a person that stimulates my mind, and a person that can hold my emotions, and a person that just goes beyond just the physical, right? Because that's important to me. And because that creates a bond, a much deeper bond with that person. But again, it's not, you're never going to find the perfect person. Like when
no,
people are
right.
like, "Oh, I found my other half," or whatever, and it's like, "No, no, 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 no."
Yeah, no, I don't. I
You,
don't believe that either.
I
It's
don't I don't believe that either. It's
no.
like, "No, you found another human, right? That
Yeah.
is much different than you are. Maybe you share similar experiences and similar values, but they're not perfect.
No, no.
And they're
Yeah,
never going to give you everything you want,
exactly.
right?
That's true. That's true.
It's like shatter this illusion. Like it's so annoying to hear like, "Oh, I found the perfect, I was waiting for my other half," and it's like, no, 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 no. Like it's another human that wants to grow with you.
Yeah.
Great, right? It's another human that wants to experience life with you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But that human is not going to give you everything that you want,
Exactly. Yeah. But I think
right?
it's also important for free-minded people like us to acknowledge the fact that all of us have these like ideas in our mind, which is like fairy tale-ish, that we need to have them to kind of for our own even if we kind of know that what you're saying is the truth, I mean, to always be this blatantly truthful truth teller always, I don't think anyone would really like to live that out. I mean, we always, every one of us, we kind of make things a little bit more beautiful than they are. We kind of, and that's also beautiful because, I mean, in doing that, I think we are actually creating. So if I meet a person and I know that you're right, like no one is perfect, but if I say and really show up as if they are perfect to me, then they might become even more perfect than uh, if I would just say no. I mean, I'm gonna be totally truthful. We're not perfect and not meant for each other. So I think these kind of small white lies can also be actually good. I mean, it's a paradox of life, there's
Yeah.
always two sides of looking at things.
Yeah, yeah. There's always if like again, we're multidimensional creatures, right? We all think differently, but I think because again, going back to colonization and structures and religion and political parties and whatever it is that you want to throw at it, it's always something else that separates us from just truly seeing each other for who we are. Like
Yeah,
we're human.
yeah,
We all want the same thing,
yeah,
right? And so,
It's just hard to express that same thing with the same words so that we actually can feel that we want the same thing. So it's hard, but it's true what you're saying, I think. But we to really make it work to get to the place where we actually everybody feels that we want the same thing and we're like that, but then life will become quite boring as well. There would be no point if there
yeah,
are no challenges to get along,
that's
and
true.
if there weren't any fights or any arguments around anything, because that's also what makes life worth living, because it is what makes the universe spiral through and like develop, I think, spiral into higher dimensions, I think.
Yeah, I think the world would be boring if we all thought the same way.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we all think the same thing, and it's like, oh, how is that a challenge, right? Like we're not challenged to think for ourselves or to come with solutions, right? And so, but I think accountability is especially forgotten here because everybody wants to do whatever they want, but they don't want to be accountable for. And that is the real problem. More
Yeah.
than anything else, that's the real problem. And so if you're being accountable, if you're being responsible, then what's the problem? It shouldn't be a problem for people,
Yeah.
right? You
Choices
shouldn't be,
have consequences, and that's hard to. I know for me, I mean, I want things, but I'm not always sure that I want to accept the consequences of my choices. So that's where responsibility comes in. That I cannot flee or shy away from the responsibility, because it will always come back to me in the form of a
yes.
consequence, which is being felt, and I'm like, okay, I wanted this, but it will always come with consequences that I might not like. And that's, I think, how we grow, that we choose a path and we know that there will be difficulties on that path, and it will be difficulties whatever path we choose. So it's um it's better to just choose the path that it's most true for me, because
Yeah.
difficulties will always come anyway. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's always going to be someone out there that accepts you for who you are, right? It may be rare, like it may be hard or harder for you, but it doesn't mean that there's no one out there that is not going to accept you for who you are, right? And so I remind that myself a lot because I know that about myself. I'm a rare woman. I feel like I'm much more attuned to my intuition and I have access to knowledge in ways that are very intuitive, right? And I've always known that about myself. And so I'm not for the ordinary man, right? It's not like they wouldn't be able to put up with me. Let me just say it like that. They wouldn't be able to like have me in their presence, it'd be too much. I'm too much, right? It's
in
like,
what way are you too much? In what way would most men think that you're too much?
well, it maybe they are afraid of my power, right? They're afraid that I can speak for myself and they're afraid that I have my own views and opinions and that I don't necessarily need anybody to forge my path, right? Like because I know my truth. I know who I am. I know what I can and can do, right? I also rely on man. By all means, I am not a man hater. I love men, right? Because I need a man. We need men. It's
Whoa.
part.
Yeah.
Yes, it's part of human nature. And so when I hear women say like I don't need a man, I can do everything by myself, it's like it makes no sense.
No, no.
By design, there are so many things that you can't do.
Yeah. Okay if that means you want to live alone for a while, but to say that you don't need a man is to say I don't want running water in my tap. That's
Exactly.
that's yeah,
Or yeah,
because there are
or I
most
don't
men who
need
are digging the pipes, and renovating everything that needs to be renovated around that, and electricity and all that. So yeah, you need a man. Not in the same house. Okay. but you need men still.
Yeah. And just like men need women
Yeah,
too,
exactly,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
It's like we need each other.
yeah,
It's by design. And so it's not something that we can just take lightly. The problem is there are so many hurt women
and
and
men as well,
and
both.
man, right,
Yeah,
as well. So both the female and the masculine, they're deeply wounded, and so we do things to each other, right? And then we wonder why there's not enough good men out there in the world, or there's not a good enough men for women. It's not about that. It's about both women and men are not taking accountability, are not being responsible. They're just taking. They're literally like sucking all the energy from other people and they're not doing anything about it. They're like, okay, well, I'm gonna go do the same thing with another, that's also because we've become comfortable, right? It's like I can exchange my sexuality for a little bit of pleasure because that's what I want, and then they move on without understanding the consequence behind the action,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Because
that's an
again,
important point. I mean, even for a spirited person like myself, I mean, and yourself as well. It seems like we have a quite a similar view
yes.
on that. That I mean, it always comes with a responsibility, and I mean, it's beautiful to be able to enjoy more people if that's okay with the people involved, but still there is always some kind of emotional connection there. And I mean, it's not because when I say when I talk about these things and like I'm mad and somehow I want many women, in the back of my like more primitive side or whatever it is, or maybe not primitive, just the way I am. I enjoy beautiful women and having sex, but even for me. I'm a very emotional guy as well. I've tried to be this kind of player dude who just goes out in the at a nightclub and just hook up with a woman and just sleep with her and then like yeah I hooked up with her and it was, but it's like even I even many of us men we also need the emotional connection. We also need you. We also would like you to be our spiritual guides because I think we as you said before, we are protecting you in the physical realm. I think you women are protecting us in the spiritual realm. I mean, you have a much deeper understanding and like of the essence of the universe in the holistic way, I think.
Yeah, we're more attuned to different levels of understanding and we can tap into different timelines. And it's hard to explain to a man, right? Because it's like, the fuck is she talking about?
Yeah.
But like you said, at the end of the day, if it weren't for women with the wisdom that they carry, we wouldn't have a strong man. Think about it, and we wouldn't have men that would protect us and that would know the truth, right? And so there's also a lot of men who spot women that are full of bullshit, like full of shit, and they're like, you're a bad woman, like I don't want anything to do with you, because there are women who can also use their abilities to manipulate,
Yeah, of
right?
course, of course. Yeah.
And so it's not that, again, men are better than women or that women are better than
Mm.
men. We all hold different access points. We access different things. We're the spiritual warriors and you are the physical warriors, right? We, through our knowledge and through our wisdom, through the experiences that we live, because we feel we're the void, we're literally access to life, right? If we can create life, then we can create better men,
Yeah.
right?
When you said the void, I was thinking of a black hole, actually. Not in a not in a disrespectful way, but I mean, like, I was thinking. I mean, because I mean, black and white. I mean, the darkness is like because think about it, just sexually. I mean, you're how our organs look. I mean, you're more like you lure or you lure in the man in your like, and he like penetrates with more like
Yeah.
brute force, like this is what I want, and I go for it. And you're more like, yeah, maybe here, and maybe there. You're more like,
you, you
and
know,
it's like a black hole, and we're more. But there are different schools around this. That some say that the feminine stands for the darkness. That it's like the matter that materializes. You know, matter, mother, the earth. It's like the lower frequencies, and the higher. You know, God Father is up there. You know, the sky. It's very like light and everything. But then in our human form, it's our higher chakras, which are the feminine chakras, who are like magnetic towards the father, and our lower chakras, which are the masculine chakras, who are like magnetic towards the mother, the earth. So it's like, you know what I'm talking about? I mean,
yeah,
it's
no, I understand that. Yeah, I mean, so going back to the women being the void, right? It that's more of like a metaphorical way of a philosophical concept, right? That we can interpret as like being feminine or having potential or the unknown, right? And so there was this older woman that gave me one time, she tried to like explain me the difference between a man and a woman, and she said, well, it's very simple, honey. You see the penis, it goes straight. That's how men think, straight, right? Do you see a vagina, right? That's how women think, right? And so our organs are also a symbolism of who we are. And so as women, right, we're the void, right? We our thoughts are always like this because we have depth, right?
yeah,
We
yeah.
have depth, right? And so
Depth. Good word. Depth. Yeah.
right, we're deep, we think in unconventional ways, right? And men are straight, right?
Yeah.
Just like their organ, right? It's straight to the point. It's like, this is all I'm gonna do, that's it, we're
Yeah.
moving on. and so and so yeah, it's the feminine connection to the void. It's like the interpretation to like the female body, right? Particularly like the womb, right? And so is the space of infinite potential and creation.
The space of infinite potential and creation. Wow.
Yes, because we are be like we're in a human body, right? We're having a human experience, but we're able to create life literally from the inside. So we have infinite potential to create other things always.
But,
So,
but I was thinking about that with creation, that some people say that, but then I heard a man talk about that, and he was like, no, 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 it's the men who are actually creating, because we have the seed that kind of, and you're the nurturers. So we are the creators, and you're the nurturers. But also, I mean, you could use many words. Of course, there's some kind of creation in that as well, and there's kind of some kind of nurturing, and uh, planting the
well,
seed
we're
as well.
both
So I mean,
creators.
it's always, yeah,
Yeah,
we're both creators. Yeah,
we're both creators, right? It's
yeah,
just in a different way.
yeah.
Again, I think what I was trying to say is that because we have the capacity to grow, think like have continuous growth, right? Like our stomachs, grow and expand, right? Connect that with our conscious minds or with our subconscious mind, right? With our spirituality, and we're the same way. We embrace the unknown, we can drive continuous growth, we can expand. Where men are also creators, but it's like one definite point. It's like the sperm goes directly to where it has to go and then it's done. It's like, I'm
Mm,
done here, right? And I move on.
mm.
And it's the same thing with your thought process and the way that you see life. It's so much more simpler.
Yeah,
And
it's more like one dimension. We tend to talk about one thing at once. I don't know if you've seen. It's an American man, I think. He is a public speaker. I think he's some sort of stand-up comedian or something, and he has these two what do you call it? Torsos of a man and a woman. It's not a torso, it's only the head, but it's like a statue of a male head and a male or and a female head, on the
Okay,
stage.
okay.
And he goes to the male head, and he talk about that we have different boxes in our minds. Like, well, men's brains work like this. They have different boxes. Like, we have a box for the car, we have a box for you, we have a box for the money, we have a box for, and we have a very specific box, which is called the nothing box, where we just want nothing, and we don't want to be disturbed. We don't want anyone to talk to us. We don't want anyone to like say something. We just want calm and peace. And then he just like demonstratively walks towards the woman head, the female head, and he's like, the female on the other hand is like, "Bzz, bzz, 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 bzz."
I mean that
like
that
like almost like a witch stuff. Like,
I love it. I love it.
yeah.
But it's so true. It's so true because we're complex beings, right? And so if we don't educate other men, or if men didn't grow up around women, then it's going to be really hard for a man later in life to come across a female and try to like control. That's why I say, like, I wouldn't be with a man that tries to control me, right? I wouldn't be with a man that tries to tell me everything that I have to do, because as a woman you're constantly changing your mind, and it's not that you want to change your mind all the time about something. It's that because we are inherently more emotional, right? And more connected to our intuition and our feelings, right? Um, we may not feel the same way 3 minutes after we thought it was a great idea. It'll be like, nah, this is not a good idea. Like, you know, and that's hard. That's hard for men to sort of experience and understand if they've never been around it. And so they feel threatened. They feel a little bit like, whoa, like, what's going on? Like, they don't want to.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. What is your experience around that? Because it'll be interesting to know.
yeah. I mean, it's very generalized, I think, because we both are masculine and feminine inside of us. Because I'm a very emotional person. I can be like that as well a little bit. But I mean, I think I um I think especially around moral issues and j justice in the world. I think um it's it could be problematic to have too much women deciding the justice system, because you are
Mm-hmm.
so much based on the feel, and that's why I've been thinking. Actually, I've had the thought that maybe I don't know if women should have too much to do in politics, actually. And I know that this sounds really, really crazy, but I've been having this thought because I'm thinking it's hard to structure society and have some kind of vision, and like we want to go there and do this if you have a lot of emotion. No, I want to go this instead. Now I think you're a bad person. Yeah, but 2 minutes ago you thought he was a good person. I mean, you can't have. It's hard to create a functioning society with a vision if too much is like this, like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm too politically incorrect now for saying that, but I've actually, and I know both men and women have said that to me as well. That, um, but 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 then there's also this thing of, that, because I agree with you that you haven't been able to like express it in your way. So I think it's just, maybe it's that the patriarchy should be for men, and so it's not that women should come into the patriarchy and mix with the men. It's more that women should build a matriarchy, and that the matriarchy is there, and that the patriarchy is there, and that they function together, more so than that the women go in and play men and have suits and do the
Yes.
you know what I mean? I think
No,
that's,
I totally agree with you. I
yeah.
totally agree with you because you're right. Like, I personally wouldn't want to lead a battle, right? Because, well, for one, I don't know much about battle. And for other purposes, like, I'm not as strong as a man. and I'm not as strategic in my mind like a man would be. And so I think you're right. I think there's got to be levels of polarity because, like you said, we all have feminine and masculine energy. The feminine energy is the nurturing, receiving, flowing creativity, and the masculine being the one that leads and initiates, right? And takes it out into action. And so I wouldn't feel comfortable with just a society where just women controlled everything because
No.
it's like, how is that going to work? Again, what happens if all these massive dudes come in and they start killing everybody? Like, I very much like, I don't doubt that there may be women out there that look as big and are as strong as men, but in perspective, I would rather have a male taking care of that. I would much rather have a male do the I wouldn't say the boring stuff, but the straightforward decisions, right?
Yeah.
Like you said,
Yeah, the stuff
where
that you as a woman think are boring. The
yeah,
stuff that
because
yeah.
it's more logical,
Yeah.
right?
So that brings me to my next question. Like how do we structure a society where we feel like we want this freedom where I as a man can be non-traditional male and you as a woman can be non-traditional female without like going too far and
Yeah,
because when we're born, right, we have different we're always born into some sort of culture, like some sort of way of looking at things. And I don't I think this is a topic that we won't really be able to solve like discussing because there will always be like inherently in the human biology like men will and women will have other um like we have other expectations of a boy than we have on a girl and vice versa. Like and people might argue and say that is unjust. I when I'm a girl I should be able to be treated as the boys, and me as a boy could say that yeah I would, it would be just for me to be treated as a human being, not as my gender. But we all know inherently deep down that that's not the truth. So I'm thinking about these things like how to structure a society, and I actually think that like gender roles and like that we're treating boys and girls differently is actually the most natural thing to do. Actually, I think so. I really do believe that that's um but I'm always open to the fact that I might be totally wrong and that I'm making the gender thing too big, or maybe it's in between that. Well, we should take into consideration what I'm saying, but we shouldn't make it like take over. So it's more like two pillars, like the masculine pillars is here, and boys tend to uh, find their role models, their fathers, their uncles, their grandpa or whatever, or a neighbor that is not biologically relatable, but still, you have your role models and follow them, and the women, girls follow their female role models. But there's also there will always be those women who are like, no, I don't want to do it. I want to, go towards the grandpa instead, and a man, and that's also an important part of in a human society that there are these people that go against, because that
yeah,
creates this, interesting thing where nothing is like set in stone, but
yeah.
we
Nothing
have
is
these,
defined.
yeah,
Like, yeah, well, and I don't really want to go too much into gender, right? Because I know that's a huge topic and we don't really have time to discuss all of that,
no,
but it's biologically there are women and there are men,
yeah,
and we can't really erase that. Like we
no, no,
can't really change the DNA on it, and it doesn't matter how many people come out that, oh, it's possible that there are no gender, and it's just like, okay, like
yeah,
we'll
yeah,
we'll, we'll just won't talk about it, right? But
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's a good way of just saying that that's what it is. I mean, biological
yeah, and
genders.
and and biologically you are born a man or you're born a woman,
Yeah,
right? And so like you said, whether or not you want to follow the rules for being a woman or follow the rules for being a man, that's a completely different story because that's going to be determined by your environment, your parents, the people that, like there's so many other factors that are going to change the way that you view the world,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
your experiences and everything, like everything about who you are is shaped and you will become the person that you are given your circumstances or given your environment, right? It's like you become who you hang out with. You like you
Yeah.
as a human, right? It's a natural part of wanting to be part of something. And so I always know when people are like, oh, if you hang out at the bar all the time, well, I already know that you drink and you probably drink too much in excess, or because you're around that all the time. That's part of your daily, ritual. And so I think it's crucial to understand that whatever the case you may become later in life, it's because it was programmed and conditioned onto you, right? Because I could have been born in Africa with no religion, and yet I grew up in Mexico where there's Roman Catholics, and I don't necessarily have to, right? Like when I become an adult and I started traveling, and I was like, whoa, there's so many other religions, and there's so many other perspectives, and there's so many other ways of thinking.
Mhm.
Why is there one way, oh, the only right thing? And that makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, like the Jehovah Witnesses were like, oh, only 14 something million of or thousands of people are gonna, survive and whatever they go. And it's like, and what about the rest? Like that makes no sense. And so, like again, going back to structures and going back to institutions and going back to the things that humans create, we create them sometimes to separate us, right? To remove us away from finding who we truly are. And it's the same thing with relationship dynamics and to me, right? Like I'm not talking for everyone. I'm talking for myself. It's the same thing with, spirituality and personal experiences. Like we all have different experiences. And so just learning to embrace who we are is where it should be our goal. Our goal should be to really come down to understanding and accepting each other for who we are without having to like fight each other and say like, oh, well, I can't believe you posted that. And it's like you have the freedom to post whatever you want,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like
of course.
you're not, a lot of people are meant and they take you too literal. And
Yeah.
then that's kind of what defines you. Oh my God, Andreas said this, and now he's this guy. And it's like, he may not be the same guy 5 minutes from now,
No, that's true.
right?
That's true.
And,
Yeah.
and it's going to be the same thing for me. Like tomorrow, you may think completely different, but that doesn't mean that because you said something, you know. And again, going back to our very, very initial conversation, as a multi-passionate creator, as a person who has many hobbies and wants to experience everything and wants to learn everything, right? It comes with the same idea of being a human. Like, aren't you everything? You are. You are everything. Your death, your birth, your experience, you're everything, right? And so having a very narrow way of viewing life, like, oh no, it should be like this and like this and like this, and like you can't move away from those, parameters. Like again, the box, right? Analogies, like you can only fit in here. People that stay there, I feel is the reason why we're so underdeveloped in our consciousness, right? It's like we're not liberated. We're just looking directly to the conditioning that this society has placed on us. That's it. you're conditioned to believe the things that society taught you. And instead of looking at it as, okay, again, me coming from a background in a country that's mostly Roman Catholic, did I become a hard Roman Catholic fan myself? No. Did I, do I tell people that it's the only religion in the world? No. Do I think that it has the highest truth? No. Because I came to realize that Mexico's not the only place on earth.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
Same thing, like, you as a Swedish man, like, Sweden is not the only place in the world. And unfortunately, so many people don't get to experience or get out of their country or their city, right? And so they have a very narrow vision. They have a tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And because we don't teach diversity, and we don't teach how to expand our consciousness, our mind, then that's where people come, you know, those are the people you don't want to be like,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And that's the people that make living on earth hard.
Mm.
Because, right? Because people like you and I are not accepted. Like, oh, how come come to tell me that there's something different? And it's like, come on, think about it for a second, right? There's endless possibilities out there,
Yeah.
right? And so why do you just want to experience one way? Why can't you just allow yourself to experience life? Let me just put it like that. Experience life. I'm not saying like go out there and right now, go and experience everything in life, like whatever you haven't done, and then you're thinking like, oh, what should I do right now? Like, and then you come with some weird shit or something. Like, no, 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 I don't like, I don't want you to go and like just be crazy about something, and you're just like, oh, I've never done this before, so I'm gonna go do it now. Like, that's not the point,
Mm.
right? The point is to just allow yourself to experience life as it presents in front of you,
Mm.
and be present. That's what we're missing. People are not present. People don't want to engage. People don't want to be there. They don't want to be accountable for their emotions. They don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to show themselves. Then I think that's because there's again too many things constructed. Oh, you gotta be this and this and this and this and this and this, and if you're not this and this, labels everywhere. and
Yeah.
and
So
I don't know.
much stress around like hurrying to be able to experience all the things that you have to experience. Just a simple example. If you go on a trip somewhere to India, it's like, yeah, you have to go to see the Taj Mahal or whatever is the like no, I don't. I'm sure it's beautiful, but I'd rather sit at a bench and talk to this weird Indian person. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's the same for me, for being a mom and wanting to live unconventionally, right? It's like I'm still a human. Just because I became a mom doesn't mean that I don't get to go experience life, or like I have to stay at home now forever, or because I do get a lot of criticism, right? It's like, oh, well, you're a mom, and it's like, yeah, but I'm also a woman.
Yeah,
Like, outside of being a mom, I'm also a human. Like, there's
yeah,
other things that I can do, you know, and I'm sure it is the same thing for you, as a single guy who doesn't have kids, it's like you may get the criticism where like, oh, this guy wants to sleep with all the women and da 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 da, and but that's not the point,
yeah,
right? It's never been the point is that you're just being who you are, and you're expressing that, and you're not hurting anybody in the process, because you're not trying to get in with people that don't resonate with that truth.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't understand why people come and, barge at you like, oh, well, that's not the right way. How do they know? They don't
Yeah, yeah.
know,
No,
right? It's
no,
not
that's
their
right.
truth.
That's right. That's right.
And
But
so,
I was thinking about the tribe thing as well. That I mean, we need um, collectives to function as well as individuals. And I think one part of the problem I've spoke to about this before. I think it is that the collectives, the common nations of today are too big. I mean, it's millions of people, or tens of millions, or hundreds of millions in some countries. I mean, it's too many people to be able to feel this natural connection to. And I think the collective structure needs to be there for society to function, but I think it has to be smaller and a bit more locally, like yeah, more locally structured, from underneath, from the people, that we create society from inside out and down up, instead of outside in and up down.
yeah, I think what you're referring to is that collective experience. Like, we need to be so when I was raising my children, I didn't have a tribe. I was very alone, isolated from people. At one point, like I wouldn't talk to adults at all. It was just me and four little creatures. I call them creatures, right? Like four little humans, right? That couldn't even form words, right?
The four
And
little aliens, green
yeah,
aliens, right?
exactly. My aliens.
Ah!
Woo! And so I remember when people would come to visit me and they'll be like, "Are you okay?" Because I couldn't articulate words because I hadn't talked to adults for weeks. And so like, I didn't have my mom around or my grandma around or the aunts around, or like there wasn't a system built to look after my children. And so I was the one that had to be looking after them all the time. And that's okay. Like I made like I did the job that I had to do, and I raised them well, and they're amazing children. And at the same time, I felt a void. I felt emptiness because, like you said, we gotta go back to tribal and community support. We have to go back to the collective because that is the way that we can share our experiences and our wisdom to other generations. And without it, we get lost. We get lost, and there's not a feeling of belonging to something. And that's what we're missing. It's like
Yeah,
nobody,
that's
yeah,
really true. Belonging to something, that really resonates with
exactly.
me. That
It's
is
like
so important.
you need to feel like you belong to something, and we're so far removed from that feeling
Yeah,
because now it's the society is like, oh, be super independent and hyper independent, you can do it all.
yeah,
Oh, women, you can do it
yeah,
all and you
yeah,
don't need any. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. Like,
yeah,
you need to feel part of something,
yeah.
and
And
we
feel that
don't.
strength and independency, but the independency comes from the relationship, the relation to in relation to the collective, not just because it's so
Exactly.
much emphasis on independence, as you say, but it is nothing if it has nothing to like compare itself to, and that's a collective. I mean, I am an individual in a group of people, and the group is
Yes.
important for me to be able to feel independent in the group.
And yeah, and there's so much research and science behind like proving why humans are so much happier and feel so much more connected to their environment when they are in a collective setting,
Yeah,
period,
yeah,
where there are people supporting each other. And
exactly.
so we're going against that. And
Yeah,
and eventually we're gonna be in these rooms where we're gonna look around and everything is gonna be, machine and AI, everything. You're gonna have an AI boyfriend and a girlfriend and
yeah,
like,
yeah. I've been seeing these applications where you can just, choose how do you want it? You want it to be like this, like this, like this, like that. Do you
Yes.
want it to be playful, or do you want it to be nerdy, or do you want it to be like intelligent or stupid, or do you want? It's like it's really
It's wild. It's
yeah,
wild, but like we don't like because humans are humans can change so rapidly. You can manipulate and you can almost lobotomize someone in the head really fast,
yeah,
right? And so think about 100 years ago, humans weren't the humans that are today, right? And if you tell a human, oh, this is going to kill you, the humans learn to see that as a threat, right? And so every single experience has been brainwashing, has been this idea that, everything belongs to us and we have the right to take it all. And, like if I don't have it all, then it is not going to work, going back to relationships and all of that, the women that are like, well, if he doesn't do all of this, then I don't want him. And it's like, okay, like all right. In the same for men. Oh, if she doesn't have the boobs or the ass or whatever, like, like I don't want her. And it's like, all right, like we've become so obsessed with wanting something our way. Like it
yeah,
has to be like this or nothing. And that's so far away from what reality really is. Like it's so few. There we go. You cut
yeah,
off.
yeah. Kind of a bit. It came
And
back.
so, yeah, I mean, gosh, I feel like we can go for another hour on
Yeah,
end, but
yeah. It's been 2 hours now, so we should probably wrap it up a bit.
yeah, I
Yeah, so
have
we were
to
talking
do.
about, society, deep things about men and women and how men are, how women are, and how we can function together, different people, individuals in the collective, how we create the new world where we can be more of ourselves without hurting others, of course. And yeah, it's and there are interesting, deep topics. I love those topics.
Yeah, me too. I find human experience very interesting, obviously, because I'm a woman, one, and two, I am a nerd and and I want to know everything about the human experience. I've also read that people with a lot of trauma tend to do that, right? They tend to want to know everything. And um, I specifically I've been chosen to break all the generational traumas that I've been carrying from my lineage, right? Because I know that 3 generations ago, my great grandma, was probably abused and, things like that. Like you carry that in your lineage. You carry that pain in your lineage. And so I feel very fortunate to live in a time where I can break those generational traumas and where I can go back to leading the way and to showing women that we need to come back to our roles, whatever that role may be, whether you are in the role of creating children or being the woman with no children but supporting the collective or whatever the case may be, there's always a better place and there's always a way to guide through real intuition, not through impulsiveness, not through manipulation, not through, you know, because I want to take this man away from everybody else and, stuff like that. Like our egos getting in the way. And the same thing for man,
Mm.
right? We need more men that educate, like that show other men that, like you said, I love the fact that you openly talk about being emotional. You're a man, and that's important.
Yeah,
It's important. There's not enough education, you know, in a male society where it's like, oh, society tell men, oh, well, if you cry, you're weak. And it's like, no, you're not weak. You're human,
Yeah, totally.
right? You have emotions. You need to experience those emotions. It doesn't make you weak. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff as to why, society came all this way. But I think for the most part is that we're also self-destructive. We love self-destroying ourselves. We love
Yeah, yeah,
we love excess. We love to lose ourselves in pleasure and commodity and all these things that we forget sometimes who we are.
yeah,
But then again, is that balance, right? Is that polarity, is that rebalance that we need in society to come back to a place where we can all see each other for who we are and just use our strengths, you know? Oh, you're great
yeah.
at this. Great. Go do that. You're great at that. Great. Let's support you with this. You know,
Yeah,
you're a
there,
part of
there
the
are ways
moment.
of there are ways of enjoying ourselves and having pleasure, but from a connected place, more from a
Yes.
heartfelt place
Yeah,
where we are like,
exactly.
yeah,
A heart a heartfelt connection. You can be an open person and still have a heart connection with someone, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
It doesn't limit you from loving someone deeply. The only limitation that you put around yourself, it's the fact that, oh, what's society gonna say?
yeah,
It's like we need to stop looking at what society is gonna say and be more in tune with again, I see love for what it is. I love myself, and the love that I have for myself is the love that I'm gonna spread to everybody else,
yeah,
and I have a big heart.
yeah,
And I know the place in my heart for the people that are in my life. And so you wouldn't do anything outside of that commitment or that union in the heart that would offend or hurt that other person, right? And so you have to have these discussions and these conversations. Like, that's why people talk and have reasoning and come to an understanding. Whatever that may look like, it's your understanding. And as long as there's an understanding between people, you're not doing anything wrong.
yeah, yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about your what it is that you're doing right now, actually? Because I see your posts on Facebook and I really like I think they're very different because it shows that you can with the digitalization and everything. I mean, you can create things easier. I mean, I do it myself with when I share something on Facebook with music and picture and images and imagery, graphics and all that. You can do so many things, and often you have this kind of like piano, like French piano piece in the background, and it's very it gives a sense that whatever you're sharing in the image is like held by that kind of frequency around it, which is very calming. And then you have some beautiful imagery with some colors, and then you overwrite something wise in text. Could you tell us a bit about how your creative process works in your mind when you're creating something? What is it that you would like to accomplish, and what is going through you while you are in the process of creation?
Yeah, no, that I love this question because everything that I'm doing right now, it's the things that I couldn't do before. So let me explain. I again grew up in a society that was very religious, that follow certain rules. And so when it came to creating something out of my imagination, um, it wasn't really seen as something like, oh my gosh, you did that. great. It wasn't celebrated. And so I'm in this path to creating something different because I feel like there are people out there that resonate with the same ideas that I have. And so what I'm creating right now is something that stands behind the people that are brilliant, that are people who have multiple passions, that they don't conform to fitting into a box, and that they don't feel like they belong in the current societal standards. And so it's sort of like my reclamation. It's I want to build a space for people to unlearn the noise and own their voice and build something that moves like them, with that freedom and that creativity and that versatility that lives within them. I want to ignite other people to come back to their creations, and where they don't feel like they're constricted. I want generations to stop conforming, and I want to start building things that are rooted in identity, not in industry,
Mm.
right? And so I'm building a vision where I see originality as the currency, where I see authenticity as the leader, and where no one gets diluted by their truth, or by being heard, or they have to do something ridiculous to get paid to do what they want to do. And so um you talk a lot about me sharing knowledge and sharing the colors behind my creations, and that's because that's how I feel in the inside. I feel very multicolored. And so I identify with all the colors of the rainbow because they all hold different psychological meanings. And so I don't really want to follow the things that I'm creating. I don't really want to follow the industry. I want to follow my identity. I don't want to follow trends. I just want to follow my truth. And so I want people to feel comfortable with creative freedom. I don't want to cater to more boxes, to blueprints, to watered down versions. I want to celebrate the messy. I want to celebrate the wild. I want to celebrate the multi-passionate ways of creating. And so, and especially among women, among mothers, among people that say, I don't want to go to college. I want to self-teach myself whatever it is that I want to learn. And so helping people go back to owning their voice, their essence, their creative leadership. That's literally what I want. And so I call it my own branding series because I've worked in branding for such a long time. And I discovered through working through different creative agencies that there was always rules, right? And I don't like rules, right? I want people to understand that when you're building something, whether it's a business or anything that you're creating at the moment right now, you need to build it from your truth. You need to build it through your creative self. And you need to trust that the ideas that you're bringing into life are ideas that are clear, that have courage, and that have depth. And so that's essentially what I'm doing behind Hello Chelo. That's the name of my brand. Um, and
Does
I want
this
to,
apply to men as well? Because I've been thinking,
yes,
I think I actually you had some kind of promotional post on Facebook, and I think I wrote like because I was interested in knowing more. Like maybe you could help me as well, even though I'm a man. But then I didn't hear anything from you. Like, what is it that you do practically? I mean, is it like a
yes.
coaching session one on one, or is it like what is the Is it like a trial time of trial first, and then you pay a certain amount, or how does it work? What is the process of getting help by you, Cello, around these topics that you just presented here?
Yeah, so as I'm building these systems, I will be offering one-on-one consultations on how to how to go back to your creative freedom. So that's going to be one of the sessions that will be available at a
And
much
do you
larger.
have a special, sorry to interrupt, but do you have a special like structure you work with, or is it more intuitive to feel into what this specific person needs at the moment, and maybe they need some more emotional support, and they need to maybe get something out of the system that is blocking them, or is it more like you are coaching them to just inspiring them to have a bit more structure in their life, or
Yeah, that's
how
a
do you go
great
about?
question. So I do have a system where we look at your inner vision and your outer vision. And so anytime you work with me, yes, I am a very intuitive mentor, meaning I talk to you, I understand your like where you're coming from, where are you in your life, in your creative process, and then I have a series of workshops, right? I have a series of tiers, levels where we work first on your inner vision, meaning we work closely with your authenticity, your embodiment, who you are, what you believe in, right? And
So
so
really formulating and really like writing down a map of who I perceive myself to be.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And once you know who you are and where your creative interests are, then we take that into the outer vision, right? And so we transform those ideas and those dreams into something physical. And
Yeah, that can be
so,
packaged into some kind of business model that would work in today's society. So it's kind of like you help the person, your client, to express themselves and getting to know themselves and really knowing what they want for themselves, and then you kind of try to make it work with the outer surroundings of how this world is structured, and maybe also in a new way, as you say, not in the old way, but you also have some sort of you have to adapt to the surroundings, of course.
yes. Well, and most importantly, it's geared towards multi-passionate people because I don't really do specialists, right? I don't really work with people who want to specialize in something. If you want to go specialize in something, then you go specialize in something, right? You become a lawyer, or you become a doctor, right? It's like you're focused onto one thing. But if you are an artist, if you are a creative person, if you have many different, if you're the jack of all trades, right? And it's not a bad thing if you are the type of person that wants to know it all, learn it all, right? You can also be successful. And so I help you understand how to use all of this knowledge that you have and pack it into something that holds all of who you are, right? And so in my case, for a long time, I didn't know how to transfer that into a career, right? And so now that I know that I'm multidimensional, multi-passionate, and I know many subjects, right? I mean, we talked about it, all the things that I know, that's exactly what I do to people because I've walked the path. I have experience with being a person who has many talents and I want to help people, right? Overcome those challenges and overcoming that confusion in their minds of like, who am I? Right? Because it's so frustrating to want it to do it all and not being able to really focus on what it is that I actually like, how do I package this and help people with it? And so, you know, you may like to talk about astrology and spirituality and human design and cars and like well, then you're gonna package it into something that has all of those elements and then help people with that, right?
Yeah.
And so in my case, I'm deeply in tune with Jungian psychology and um
Shadow work.
right, shadow
Yeah.
work and all this spiritual stuff, right, that make you human. And I help people transform from there, but also take it to a physical plane where they don't feel disconnected, where they feel like there's a purpose for them behind the things that they know, right? There's always something useful that you can use to help others, not just yourself. Like, yes, you are helping yourself in the process, you're becoming more aligned, and you feel, the ultimate goal is to finally become aligned with who you truly are and understand that your biggest power is your authenticity. And so when you realize this, and this is what I do with my mentorships, is that I help you walk that path. I help you discover yourself through my immersion, my mentoring. And I guide you on the journey of self-reclamation, where you can build something that is not just successful, but it's true to who you are, right? Because we
This,
deserve, yeah,
this
we
sounds actually
deserve to be.
that it would be perfectly suitable for me, and that's why I've been drawn to you actually. And that I think that I mean I could really see that you help me. You could help me with something because I am, multi-passionate. I have many different. I've never felt like there's one thing that I want to do. I mean, even playing guitar. I often tell people tell me like, yeah, Andreas, what do you do? Like, do you like playing? Like, yeah, you like playing guitar, right? And I'm like, yeah, but sometimes I don't like playing guitar at all. I mean, it can be like 3 weeks and I don't touch my guitar. And so it's really hard for me to say like, what are your interests, Andreas? Because it depends. I mean, it depends on the mood, it depends on the day, it depends on who I am with, it depends on many things. So that's why it's hard for me, or I perceive it to be harder, but I guess people like you could help me with that to really make it work, even though I am as complex as I am, because I feel like even the podcast now, I mean, it can go. When I started it again, like a few months ago, I was like, yeah, now I'm going to start this podcast, and then I had 3 episodes, and after the third episode, I was like, it took maybe 2 months before I did the next episode, and you're the fifth one, so it took 2 months. I did the fourth one like a week ago, and now you're at the fifth episode with you here. So I mean, really having like structure and discipline and like really following a path. It's and I've been to these, like men's courses where you're like, yeah, you're gonna find your purpose in like this week, and you're gonna find this and this and that. But I realized it doesn't work for me because, I just I'm too complex for to fit into their box into what I should be, because even if they say they're gonna help me to find my purpose, it's not meant for me because it's so structured around this one path that a man has one purpose and he should do this thing, and
Yeah.
it should be like very structured around one sentence, and then you know your purpose, and then you just go out and do it, and I don't know, it hasn't really been working for me.
No, and that's not at all how I structure my mentorships. And like I said, they're not available now because I'm still building them, right? But the way that I work with clients, it's very different because I am also a highly complex individual, right? Highly complex individuals that are very passionate about many things, they can follow anybody else's rules but their own rules. And so I teach you how to connect because you as a man also have intuition, right? And and so trying to follow somebody else's rules is never going to work for you because you have to go through your own process, what I call the process of unbranding. You have to shed those layers of expectation, all the layers of expectations that you're getting from society, and let go and say, I have to let go of the need to be perfect. I have to let go of the need of being polished. I have to be let go of the need of being professional. And instead, I need to embrace my messiness. I need to embrace my imperfect. I need to embrace the raw version of myself. Right. And so when I discover that, everything clicked. My higher purpose is that I enjoy helping others discover their true essence, discover their power, right? Realize that your own inner world is what's going to dictate everybody else. That your journey is not a straight line, that your journey is messy, and then it may take time. It always takes time, and that you're constantly evolving and transforming, and that your purpose is going to be filled with mistakes, with missteps, with self-doubt. I mean, that's part of the human experience as a creator. And
Yeah.
so normalizing the fact that to build something, it takes time.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're going to change your life in 6 weeks. That's bullshit,
Yeah.
right?
I think
It's
that's a beautiful because it feels like you're really connecting to a deeper part of me where I feel like you because when I go I went I took singing lessons or I was going to take singing lessons and I went to a I was living in Malmö close to Denmark in South Sweden back then and I thought yeah okay she sounds good I'd try but you know what I mean when I came there I felt she made me feel like a machine that she was just gonna, um, program with her knowledge. And the first lesson, if we even want to call it a lesson, was about her hurrying through a lot of PowerPoint presentation with a lot of theory. Because she wanted me to understand with the vocal cords how they looked and how they worked and everything. And I was like, and I really regret that I didn't just shout it at her, like, "Are you fucking stupid?" I didn't do it because I was too polite, but I was like, I was so mad at her after, and I was like, and then she was like, "Yeah, bend forward and like, so that you feel the muscles in your back, and it's nothing wrong with that, but I mean, it was the way she did it. She made me feel. She didn't make me feel like a person. I mean, for me it doesn't matter. You can have the best ideas, the best practical things. You can be the most experienced person in the world, but if you don't make me as a client feel seen and heard and understood, uh, nothing compares to that. And I feel like when you talk, you really see people. I mean, you really, really, really see me for who I am. And that is beautiful. And that's why I'm drawn to you very much. That's one of the reasons why I'm drawn to you because I feel like I can connect with you. I feel like you have a strong wanting, longing for me to feel good, that you really do care. Regardless of if it's just this conversation, or regardless if I will pay you and start working with you or not, you really do care, and that's the most important thing for me when I want to become a client for a coach.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, it's because of my journey. It's because I haven't lived a normal life, and I felt very alone in various times in my life. And so I am deeply connected to my shadows, and I am deeply connected to my experiences, and they haven't been easy, right? They
What are your shadows? Is it okay? Would you? Is that too personal? Maybe of a question to
No,
ask.
no, it's not a personal thing. Like I used to be a people pleaser, and I used to be, a perfectionist, and I used to criticize people a little bit too much.
Yeah,
Like I
there was
used
always
to
something
be,
wrong with something, and perfectionist
yeah.
type of thing. Yeah,
And then I realized that it wasn't really because I wanted to judge people. It was the parts of me that I didn't like about myself. And so when I quickly realized that, there's like, okay, I have to work on those parts of myself, right? Like I have to get better at, you know, these areas in my life. And I'm not ashamed of it. I also people pleased a lot because I grew up in a society where, if you did, if she didn't do it, she's not worthy of love in a way. There was that kind of abandonment wound where I wanted to be seen, but nobody saw me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see, this is why you say you're not the only person that has told me this, right? It's like, oh, like you can really see me and hear me and understand me, but you have to understand that I wasn't being seen or heard or understood for a long time.
Yeah.
And when I realized that it had nothing to do with people, right? And I let go of that need to prove, need to show people that by performance rather than just being me, then people can just see me for who I am and say, oh, that's what connection is,
Mm.
right? That
Yeah.
that's what connection feels like. I understand that because I lived through that. When you go about life and people can't see you for who you are, right? Then you try to perform, you try to do other things and please others, right? And so I did it for so long that one day I snapped out of it. It's like a light bulb went into my head and I was like, wait a second. Why am I proving myself if I just be me and just allow people to see me for who I am naturally without having to, you know, like go over my how do you call it? Without stepping over my boundaries, right? Then I'm gonna start connecting with people much easier. And guess
Yeah.
what? Instantly, like this, I started energetically just bringing people to me that shares the same pain, the same shadow, right?
Mm.
And so
Mm.
they see me and they go, wow, I can connect with you, but you're seeing the heal part of my shadow, right? Because it's through my shadow work that's the highest purpose for me on this planet, really. It's that I will help other people become who they are through the reflection of my own shadows and the work that I've done on myself.
Mm. Mm.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's not that complicated. It's just about listening. It's just about just sitting down with you and say, okay, these are the moments that you need to work through to uncover the real you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
These are, because you're going to spend years and years and years and years and years trying to, again, fit into a box and trying to create something that it's marketable and appealing and safe. And I hate all that shit. Like,
Mm.
I don't want to be like anybody else. And it doesn't matter if I have 400 followers or 1 million followers. Who cares?
Mm. Mm.
Because at the end of the day, that's not what I'm here for. I'm not
Yeah.
here for your likes. I'm not here for, I'm not here for any of that. I'm just here to do real, honest human work,
Yeah. Yeah.
real, honest, transformative work.
And if people are sitting and listening now and are curious about doing this human transformative healing work with you, what are the steps? Like how do I go about if I want your help around this? If I want to be your client, what?
Yeah. So, I don't have my website posted per se. However, I do have a profile on Instagram where you can go and schedule a call with me. And so you just have to reach out, and that's the way that we connect. You
And
know,
how long is the call? How long do we talk?
yeah, that's also another great question. So the mentorship is 8 weeks. However, when we talk, it's a normal 15 to 30 minute conversation.
Okay.
where I just get to know you, who you are, what it is that you want to do. Because again, the end goal is for you to transform your creations into something that you can serve with, right? Whether that is, building your own business, starting your own practice, perhaps creating a course, whatever the case may be, I will help you through that transition. And so by
Mm.
working with me, you're working to find the correct path and understand how to get there, if that makes
And
sense.
how much is the cost for those 8 weeks? And when do I have to like conform to paying you? Is it like a total sum of everything, or is it like per session, or how does it work?
I will discuss that with the client when they reach out to me. I don't really like setting a price, right? Because I am also practical in the sense of understanding that sometimes there's limitations. I love working honestly with just authentic people that want to be better, and so I'll have that conversation with the person. Eventually I do want to set a certain, a membership, right, where it's accessible to everybody. I don't have that those numbers yet, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
because
yeah, that's
everything is a work in progress, and I take my time when I create things, and so it's been in the works for a while now, and I'm actually partnering with somebody else that's we're not only going to offer mentorship for adults, we're going to offer mentorships for young teenagers, for older people, and for middle-aged people. And so it's not just going to be something where it's like, oh, you have to fit a certain criteria or a certain profile. No, it's going to be for all generations. Um, it's a much bigger project, but I want to I want to give people access to this mentorship or to this one-on-one mentorship with me. Um, when we have those mentorships already in place. So I want to kind of launch everything at the same time. Again, you can always contact me through my link. There's a link in my bio on Instagram where you can contact me directly if that's something that you'd like to do, and we can have that conversation. But down the line, pretty soon, actually, I'll start having I'll release more information on the mentorships and how they're gonna work. You know, if we're gonna do calls and if we're gonna exchange emails or text, or how that information is going to work on the membership. What is going to be our relationship, the time of the mentorship, what the outcome is, all of that kind of stuff. We'll I will release it, and we'll release it very soon.
mm.
And
Yeah,
so I'm
interesting.
super
So
excited.
what's your name on Instagram? How do you call yourself on Instagram? What do
Instagram,
you
you can find me as hello, I am Cello, all lowercase. So hello, I am Cello,
Without
uh,
spaces in between?
without
Without
spaces in
okay.
between.
Hello,
Yep.
I'm Cello.
Yep.
Hello, I'm Cello, or hello, I am Cello.
Hello, I am Cello.
Okay. Hello, I am Cello. Right. And
Yes.
also on Facebook, I guess, as your name, Cello
Um,
Garza.
Chelo Garza. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
find me on Chelo Garza. That's where I share all of my content. Right now, I just launched a creative freedom toolkit. It's completely free. It's a way to, start your path to your creative freedom. I give you some insight of what creative freedom means. I offer some free exercises that you can do on your own. And I also have a creative library right now as well, with like, these are basically all the resources that you may need to transform those creations and like get them out into the world. So it has a list of all of the sites to create your website, or to do your email marketing, or to customize your fonts, or to create, basically like the online tools of how I create the things that I am creating as well, right? How I create my graphics, and there I that vault is pretty big. You can also get it through my link on Instagram. And it's right there. I also have a newsletter where I teach people how to brand themselves, or how to unbrand themselves. And so every week I send out a newsletter that is completely free, and it walks you through how to unbrand yourself. So, I'm in the works of creating a workshop for that. That's going to be accessible at a very reasonable price, actually pretty affordable price, that you'll be able to download and listen to, and it'll teach you everything that I have learned through working in creative agencies, and how to brand yourself in a way that you create it,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Perfect. So,
Where,
so there are loads of different possibilities, and it feels like it's
yes.
better to contact you first, and then both you and your client can kind of discuss what would be the most suitable path for them.
Yes, absolutely. Like, there are some people who just want to know how to brand themselves, and so I can offer that knowledge, right? And again, I'm working on making an actual workshop that you can download, right? It'll have a little fee you can download, and you can watch it whenever you want to.
Mhm.
Um, but then there are other people who are like, I want to work directly with you, right? And so I give them the steps, right? They want to build a brand, and so I offer full branding services,
Mm.
all the way from design to the content creation, and the copywriting behind the brand. Like,
Yeah,
I offer all of that and more.
yeah, cool, cool. Yeah, it seems like you're offering there are a lot of offerings. There are a lot of different ways that you can help people.
Yeah,
We have to close this conversation right now. It has been really nice talking to you. Really, you're a really interesting woman, interesting human being, interesting person, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
thank you, Andreas, and thank you for having me on your podcast. I feel very privileged to be here, and for you to allow me this space to just fully and authentically express myself. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. We'll talk more. Maybe I'm actually honest. With what I say. I'm really interested in maybe finding a way that we can work together and that you can help me in some way. So we'll definitely talk more.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know where I am. So
Yeah.
just yeah, just again, send me a text, and I'll be in touch.
Yeah. Okay. So I wish you a good night. It's almost three in the night, 3 a.m. over
It
there
is
soon.
it is almost 3 a.m. Yes, and
Yeah.
so I have to go sleep.
Yeah. Here it's almost midday. It's 11:45 a.m. here, so it's
Okay.
okay.
Well, you
Okay.
have a good rest of your day, and I'm gonna go have a good rest of whatever night I have.
Yeah.
So, yes. Good morning and good night.
Yeah. Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you too.
Bye bye.
Bye.